Hi and welcome back to my channel. I was literally about to start this video and say go and grab a cuppa, but don't do it because I'm not having them at the minute. I'm just not feeling them whatsoever. Don't know if it's because of heartburn, but I'm on milkshakes and cold drinks. But yeah, right, I'm gonna get so distracted, I'm so sorry. But essentially I put a YouTube live a week or two ago with first trimester sort of like vlog footage of just what I got up to in the first trimester, how I found it all. But to be honest, I was genuinely on another planet. I feel like I still am on whatever that other planet is, to be fair. But yeah, when I edited it back, you could tell so much I'd missed. I was just looking back like I haven't talked about this, I haven't talked about this. And then when I've done a Q&A over on my Instagram, there is so many questions that haven't sort of been answered in that, so I thought it'd be really nice to do sort of a wrap up of the first trimester, and yeah, basically like doing a Q&A. So I've screenshot some of the questions and I've even like really gone in depth on the answers because I don't want to miss any details and then sit back and be like, oh, I didn't even talk about X, Y and Z. So yeah, grab yourselves a milkshake or a cold drink to have that with me because yeah, I just can't stomach cups or teas and I'm not a coffee drinker anyway. So yeah, let's get going because there is a lot to run through and I don't want this to be the longest video in the world. Okay, so one of the top questions that came through ever since I even just did the pregnancy announcement over on my Instagram was the first trimester symptoms, and I've had to make a list because I know I will forget one of them. And I'm going to keep this on my notes as well, just to have in the future and know what I was feeling at like what moment in time and stuff, and I've put all of it into my pregnancy journal as well. So yeah, so my nausea, which has been probably the biggest symptom, started from literally I think it was like 1 or 2 days into week 6. Got worse, I'd say week 9, and then week 13 got even worse than that as well. And I've had like medication, I'm still on it, I need to go and pick up another prescription of one. Yeah, it hasn't still gone away. I'm recording this in week 17 now. And yeah, I've still got it. So yeah, that's the biggie for me. Also sort of with that, I've had really extreme fatigue, and I remember seeing this like word extreme and I thought that is a bit extreme, but until you go through it you genuinely don't realise how extreme it is. Like you cannot stay awake. So yeah, I'm in week 17 and like even yesterday I was asleep from 2 till I think it was about 5:30 and then had a normal sleep on the night as well. There's literally just nothing like this tiredness, and yeah, in week 17 I still have it as well. Which I don't think helps because my nausea tablets are actually drowsy ones, which I think could make me even more tired than just without the tablets. But it's sort of, I need to take them because I will feel like really bad if I don't have them nausea tablets. So yeah, that was from week 4 I had that fatigue. So that was the week we found out we were pregnant. Thankfully it was the week before Christmas, so we were winding down things anyway at work, and yeah, I just spent most of my time sleeping, most like afternoons, weekends, which was a lot of fun. But also I did really like it, to be fair. I do love a good nap. One thing which I'm definitely still struggling with now, and I think it's got even worse, having heartburn and acid reflux, it's basically the same thing I think, since week 7. So yeah, and I don't think that's then helped my nausea because you already feel sick and always feeling sick, but yeah, then on top of it, every single day since I first started getting it in week 7, having the acid reflux on top where I can literally feel it like up to here. Which is not nice at all, and it's definitely got worse. But obviously yeah, if you're feeling sick and then it feels like something's actually coming up, they're just not helping each other whatsoever. Boob soreness, oh my god, what a symptom that was. Thankfully that one has gone. We've ditched one of them by week 17. Yeah, so basically since I found out I was pregnant, and also even before that, I was feeling soreness, which I've never done, even just like through like periods and things like that. It's never been sort of a thing like every month for me, so that was sort of a giveaway. But yeah, there was soreness, and then there was literally pain, full-blown pain, and that came around the same time I think as the nausea did. So it was a great cracking week, that week 6 for me. Everything just hit me in one go. But yeah, the only way to describe that, how sore it was, I literally couldn't touch them. Nothing could touch them. I really struggled sleeping because you'd be sort of like laid on them every single night since the start of January, which was like week 6 for me. I've worn a bra to, well, just to sit around the house on a night, even like after once I'm in my pyjamas, but then also to sleep in as well, like a sleeping bra, just so there's some support and they're not sort of weighted down and feeling even worse than they need to feel. So yeah, they've been a bit supported all through, day and night. I can't let them out of a bra except for when I go for a shower. But yeah, the only way to describe it is genuinely, like, this is what I said to Kyle, it feels like someone's pumped them full of cement, like dodgy cement, like a dodgy boob job. That's the only way to describe it. It is so painful. But yeah, thankfully I think about week 13 that sort of just eased off. They're still a bit sore, but it's nothing like it was. So yeah, that was fun. What else have I got on here? Extreme bloating as well. So from about week 7, I did have bloating before we even found out, but I'm talking extreme bloating at this point by week 7, where it was actually painful and uncomfortable. Something felt massively swollen. Again, mixed then with my boobs being so tender, like can't touch them, everything hurts about them. And then having the bloating on top, where like I literally felt like I was about 8 or 9 months pregnant. Like the sort of uncomfortableness that I can imagine it is, just everywhere I was moving like really hurt. So yeah, nausea, absolutely tired, but also everywhere was in pain and aching. So it was one big car crash that week 6 and 7. Round ligament pain, which I think can come on at any point, but all of the apps that I've got, when I googled it, because I was really actually worried about what this pain was, because I'd never heard of that symptom whatsoever before. Yeah, I googled it one night, so that came on in week 6, and it was literally from, I think it was me coughing or sneezing, and then thought, that's a bit weird, like what is this pain? And then later in the day or the week, just getting up off the sofa, it felt like I was being stabbed. Like it is a very strong pain. So yeah, googled it thinking the worst obviously, and then round ligament pain up, which like ticked all the boxes for how I was feeling and when it happened to me as well. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot as well, because I'd never even heard of that as a symptom whatsoever before. Yeah, and I think it's more common in the second half of pregnancy, but yeah, I was lucky enough to get it in my week 6. That week 6 was an absolutely cracking week. An early symptom at week 4 to 8, period pain, but like a stronger period pain. I did suffer with period pain anyway, but this one was even stronger, just really bad aches, and then really bad like lower back ache, which I used to get from period pain every single month anyway. But yeah, getting that, which was a weird one because it was obviously not that, but it felt a lot like it. food aversion, so just haven't been able to drink a cup of tea like I mentioned since I found out, which is so weird because it's the blandest thing in the world. I don't even have sugar with it, so why I've not been able to stomach that I don't know. I've put it down to heartburn and not wanting a hot drink. So yeah, I've only been on really cold drinks really. The smell of meat being cooked, and especially even more so when it's got like seasoning and sauces put in. So that's basically every single meal Kyle has. So that's been fun in the house. So he has the kitchen door closed and then this front room door that I'm in now to just block out the smell, which is a shame because we obviously can't really eat together, can't make meals together, we're not having the same meals, and it's still pretty much the case now in week 17 as well. So I don't know if this nausea goes, that'll go, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's the big ones for me. And then the other one, which isn't the same as the period pain backache, because that went about week 8 for me thankfully, but lower back pain, and I've put down on my notes here just feeling like something's rubbing against something else when I move and walk, and that was from week 11. So yeah, just if you can imagine in just your lower back, as I'm walking, it's like something's like rubbing against something else that isn't supposed to be there. But yeah, I brought that up with my midwife and she said it sounds completely normal. Obviously just unfortunate like how early on I've got it. But just with everything moving around that area, like the front and the back, just muscles relaxing, things maybe are doing that. And she just said obviously if it gets any worse, yeah, to get in touch. But she sort of did say like it probably will stay the rest of your pregnancy now, so good because I can't walk properly. But it's fine when I'm just sat here, like there's no pain at all. It's literally when there's movement, it's like there's friction against something else. So I think that is most of my symptoms, and oh my god, I'm already 10 minutes in and that was just one question. But that was the biggie because I don't think I mentioned a lot of that stuff in my other video. And other questions, the biggie obviously, are you finding out what you're having? No. And I think I might have covered that in the last video, but I never wanted to find out anyway. Kyle did. But yeah, we've always spoke about that and said we'll end up fighting over it. But when we actually found out we were pregnant, he actually came to terms with it really quickly and was like, no, you know what, it would be an amazing, lovely surprise. And although in his head he wants to be like a really good planner, I was like, what is the plan? Like, we want a sort of gender neutral nursery anyway, like all of these sort of like cream colours, so what is there to actually plan? And I don't know why I've got it in my head, like I don't like the idea of me, because we've got a boy's name in mind, if it ended up being a boy and we found out, we'd then calling the baby that all the way along, and I just didn't want that for me. Like a lot of people do and that's great, but just personal preference, I just don't want to know the definite baby's name until that day when they're here. This is a big one. Hardest and easiest part during pregnancy so far. So I really had to think about the easy ones because it's not been an easy ride, and the worst bit is I've spoken to so many women since doing the pregnancy announcement, doing the Q&As, and like being really open just on how rough and tough I found it. Just hearing like how much worse, even like beyond what I've gone through, people being hospitalized with like nausea and the sickness, like honestly just women are just genuinely amazing. It's really opened my eyes to like how rough the pregnancy is. I feel like so many people just talk about their bad labours but don't talk about so much the actual tough time going through these 9 months can be. So yeah, first of all, easiest. The easiest part for me, I think, was keeping it a secret so long. We were really lucky that when we found out it was before Christmas, which wasn't easy at all because we were seeing quite a few people, but from January onwards just really easy because I was really ill, so I was just hibernating anyway. But everyone's indoors, the weather was not great, everyone's skinned, there's no plans being had, everyone's going on diets, so there's no like going out for food and things, so it was actually really easy to keep it a secret. And I just genuinely loved it being in a little bubble where we just knew, and we're just so genuinely happy and so can't wait for the rest of the year ahead of us as well. And also one of the easiest parts, just how amazing, just a little shout out to Carl if you ever watch these videos back, how amazing Carl's been to make this rough time as easy as on me as possible, and doing basically anything at all to support me and get me through each day, because at the minute, week 17, and I'm still saying, like, I'm just trying to get through every day. Like, every day is a struggle. So for just to have that support is literally amazing, and just makes my struggle so much easier by him being how great he has been. And then the last one, which I did add on just before I started filming, not drinking has been so easy. Obviously because of how it landed, it wasn't easy the first couple of weeks, but then I've been that nauseous anyway. I've not missed a drink in the slightest. Like, I couldn't even stomach one right now if I was allowed to be drinking. So yeah, that's been a breeze for me as well, which is lucky. Moving on to the hardest, I've just put everything. Obviously all of those symptoms, really hard. And just how long it's lasted as well. So like, a really hard thing for me has been a lot of people saying it'll be over by the first trimester, and then it wasn't. People saying it'll be over by week 16, that's when it eases off. Maybe because it did for them. That's it. Everyone's not the same. And we're in week 17 now with all of these symptoms still. So yeah, that's really hard to hear, because I know people are probably just trying to keep your strengths and hopes up, but everyone is different, so it's so hard to say you should be feeling like this by this time, because everyone is different. Genuinely just not feeling like I can remember what feeling normal feels like. It's been so much, like, so if it's week 6 most of this started, I'm in week 17, yeah, so like 11 weeks of this. I genuinely can't really remember life before it now. It's a bit surreal. And yeah, people just not understanding how rough it's been, or expecting me to feel fine by now, or just telling me, yeah, but you just get on with it, don't you? It's not what I want to hear. So yeah, I just think until you've been through a similar sort of thing, I know everyone can be, is it sympathetic or empathetic? But then there's people that just aren't, which isn't helpful. Or just not trying to really understand it as well. Just saying like, yeah, I should be fine by now, and you just have to get on with it, don't you, Sarah? Which I am doing, to be fair. And one of the other last things for me, which has been one of the hardest things, just how overwhelming baby products, the information, things that you need to know, it is so overwhelming. I think because I've felt so rough, and like I said, I'm just trying to get through the day. I genuinely have not thought about anything to do with labour, a birth plan, worry about labour, and then everything to do with the baby. I genuinely know nothing about babies. And you see people have been messaging me saying they're on the same week or the week before me, pregnancy wise, and they've already decorated the nursery. That's not me. We've done nothing. We're just, like I said, just trying to get through the day. Don't even know what room out of the house the nursery's even going to be in at this point, never mind actually plan nursery and fully decorate. What surprised you the most? I think the biggest surprise for me, except from all of these symptoms and some that I'd never even heard existed, that quote, you find out who your true family and friends are when you're pregnant and have kids. It is the most true saying ever. I'm not saying this whatsoever for sympathy, but I've had some shit people being quite shit. So just not bothering with me, not checking in even though they know all of like how much I've struggled. Yeah, there just is some people in life who are just a bit rubbish, aren't there? Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, genuinely not saying it for any sympathy, but you will find it. And if you don't find it, then amazing. You've got a really amazing full circle of people around you. But yeah, I'm just really, really happy. I genuinely, I think I'd be so upset about it if I wasn't in the happiest place ever. But yeah, like I've got the best support system, the bestest friends. Kyle has just been genuinely incredible. Like, and everyone else doesn't really matter if they're not going to be bothered about me or the baby or Kyle. So I genuinely don't mind that much. But yeah, it's been a surprise, I'll say that. The learning curve as well. So just how much there is to learn about even just pregnancy, like what your body goes through during pregnancy. I was so naive because I've not been around that many people pregnant that close that they told me all of this stuff. You just don't know until you're in this sort of situation. So yeah, this round ligament pain, never even heard of it once ever mentioned to me. And then things like, this sounds like hilarious, but things like your body is actually growing an organ, the placenta, alongside your baby. So it's producing a new organ for your baby to then obviously survive off. I don't know what I thought before pregnancy that happened, but like, where did I think this placenta came from? But yeah, it's just things like that that just baffle me like daily, like as if my body is doing all of that stuff. And talking of placentas, another thing that surprised me, again, just being quite naive and not having to ever sit and think about this sort of stuff, but I went for a 16-week scan last week, and they told me I've got a anterior placenta, so one that sits sort of in front of the baby, right on sort of the outside here. And then when I was reading up about it, like the pros and cons behind each sort of position of where the placenta could be, I genuinely never once crossed my mind the fact that if you have a placenta that ends up growing underneath your baby, you would end up having to deliver that first, which obviously isn't really an option, I don't think, because the baby needs to come out before the placenta. So you would have to have a C-section. Don't know why I've never been in a position to need to know this sort of information, but yeah, daily sit down and think about this sort of stuff. It is just a bit crazy, just the amount of information and just getting your head around all of this stuff baffles me. Okay, and then the last question, which came up so much from the announcement, the first Q&A I did on Instagram, and then when I've just done one asking if there's any more questions for this YouTube video, is the trying to conceive journey, which I had to Google what TTC is because I'm not down with the kids. But yeah, so the journey for us, I sort of wanted to, it sounds so bad, but I actually wanted to stay away from talking about it when I first got asked about it on Instagram, because I just feel awkward, because our journey was basically not even really a journey. It was the quickest journey you can imagine. And I just feel awful because some people's take so long and it's a struggle, and I can't even imagine what that feels like. And obviously I'm just so appreciative that it happened so quickly for us. Yeah, and every pregnancy, everyone's body is so different, isn't it? Like everyone's on their own journey. But yeah, a quick wrap up of everything. Yeah, so I came off the pill in September last year, just after our holidays, and it was essentially, we'd spoke about it for a while about doing it, but wanting to get holidays and things like last year out of the way. And yeah, we just said whether we fell pregnant tomorrow or it took a year or 2 years, like let's just come off it. The good old saying that everyone seems to say, I don't even believe it anymore, obviously because of this, but people saying like, oh, if you've been on the pill for so many years, like you need to give your body time to like find itself with its own actual hormones, and then you'll maybe fall, like I don't know, but that was always what's been sort of like drilled into my head, that God, I'm gonna have to think about things like quite far in advance, because I've been on the pill for so long that your body won't know what's hit when you come off the pill. And I do have friends where they've came off and their bodies have gone a bit wild, but mine was literally like clockwork from the day I came off the pill, full stop. Yeah, and then obviously fell really quickly as well. So yeah, and then since I've told that story to like friends, people have said, yeah, they know someone who also said that, because they'd been on the pill for years, thought, oh my god, it's going to take ages to conceive because you've got all these crazy fake hormones like around your body, and then fall in the first like month or two, which when you think about it, there is so many unexpected pregnancies where you just miss 1 or 2 pills. So yeah, it can happen. So that was it for us. But yeah, I think I haven't really spoken about this sort of stuff, so I'm like, we're really in shock still, because there's been something in my head telling me I'm gonna really struggle. I don't know what it is. I haven't ever had a pregnancy scare in my full entire life. That first pregnancy test we did was the first ever test I've ever done in my whole life. So I think just from the not knowing, from being so safe on the pill for so many years, it's like, oh well, I've had no inkling that I'm going to be fertile or not. Like, I don't know how it's going to work. Yeah, it's just been a shock because of how quick, even though it's sort of planned, but well, yeah, it was planned because I obviously came off, but it's still a shock because we just didn't expect it. And I genuinely said to Kyle, I can honestly see it being at the point where we'll have to give it a year or so before then we can go and speak to doctors about it, then go and get tested and things like that. So yeah, shock but planned. Is that a thing? But yeah, still in so much shock now. Maybe that's why we haven't bought anything for the baby yet, really, because it still doesn't feel real, even though I've got a bump, well, a little bump. It just feels surreal. But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap up there. I hope I've answered a lot of questions, gone in as much depth as I can. It's probably going to be a long one judging by how long I've been recording for. But yeah, I hope you found that useful, and thank you so much as well for all of the love on my last YouTube. The amount of DMs I've had saying you're so relatable, I'm going through this, I'm a few weeks ahead or behind me. Someone's even messaged saying they've got the exact same due date, which is amazing. I've got a little twin now. So yeah, thank you so much, because it is hard being honest and coming across so negative, but it's genuinely my experience. Not everything is rosy in pregnancy, and I think there are so many videos and influencers of having the dreamiest pregnancy, and it's not great to watch because it's not like that for a lot of people. So yeah, I just wanted to show a really honest, and it was hard because I don't want to ever come across negative or that I'm not appreciative of being able to be pregnant. But it is real life. This is like how I've been feeling the last few months. But yeah, I hope you found it useful. Hope you've learned something from this. If you haven't been pregnant or gone through this sort of thing with those symptoms, yeah, because it's the biggest learning curve of my entire life. And yeah, I will catch you in the next video.